What's going on, Cancer? I salute the divinity in you, and welcome to the Chariot Friends. Justin here, and how you feeling? Moon's in Scorpio. I'll be feeling a lot. But you know what? I find that with Scorpio, when we are, especially when we're feeling a little bit more intensely, feeling more things that are having a tough time coming through something, it's learning to face that thing and like figuring out how can I turn this thing that may be bringing me down and turn it into medicine. I got a whole thought with that when we get into when we start talking about Scorpio energy. But before we get into that, if you're new here, again, my name is Justin, and know that when you're coming across this video, you're in sync with the moon, and she loves that. But this is also a place for you if you happen to have Cancer in your placements. Sun, moon, rising, maybe Mars, wherever. This one's for you. And I do tarot card spreads based on that lovely luminary, the good old moon. And I'll talk about what sign she's in, what phase she's in, where she's going for. Of course, it's all them lunar shenanigans. And just so you're all aware, this is a general reading, not a one-to-one. So take what fits into your story, discard the rest, and everything will be dope, Cancer. Now, let's jump into it. Because we got some interesting stuff to talk about here today. We got a lot of lunar shenanigans to talk about. Because depending on when you're watching this, happy Moon Day. Moon Day is associated with Monday. And I find that this is a great time for just checking in with how you are feeling, how this is. Because for a number of people, this is maybe starting off your week, or maybe I find that Mondays are just like good check-in days, just in general, just to observe and honor the fluctuation of the feelings and notice not just what is going on with you, but what you even sense around in others. The moon is a very sensitive, intuitive type of energy. So I find that this can be a great way just to kind of track your mood. Maybe make it fun. You get like a mood ring. See where you're at. But I do think that this is a great time too for just like kind of nurturing yourself, honoring the feelings that do come up, and knowing how to just take care of them, having little rituals and things to get yourself grounded again. I find with the moon day. And what I also like doing, this is a great one if you're doing like an Orphic, one of the Orphic hymns. It's this book, I need to include it in the description box, but it's a cool one. There's one called I think it's the Athanasakis Apothesalis, something like that. I think I butchered that a little bit. But this one, you don't have to worry about that one because it's the Orphic Hymns by Patrick Dunn, and this is a dope version. And it has like different Orphic hymns for different deities and things. It's pretty cool. It's got Greek translations in there, but for moon days it's to Selene, or Selene. I think it might be Selene. It's fine, but that's a little something extra for you. But also, what I like doing with these days is thinking about my moon placement. What is my relationship, like as far as like what sign is she in? What, even what, do you know what phase, if you happen to know what time you were born, what phase? I was born during the waning crescent. But it was, or also like what house is the moon in, and even too just paying attention to different lunar transits. Sometimes the aspects can be a little harder to catch because she does them at various times. The moon's very busy in the chart, but you can get a general idea. Like I know when the moon's in Scorpio, this is a time when the moon is very active in my chart. She's lighting up a lot of my Leo placements. She's lighting up, talking to Saturn. She's talking to the sun. She's talking to my midheaven. So there's a lot of activity going on there. Same when it's going on in even a little bit more so in Taurus. So, and like even some of the fire energies, Aries, Sagittarius. So those are just times that I pay attention to as well. And I've been in like a Cancer rising for my solar return. So that's something that I've been really kind of seeking up with, even like following what time the moon rises versus when the time the moon sets. And I think I mentioned that that's what I'm doing. Like when the moon's void, of course, she's doing like these little fastings while the moon is up and things. And that's been really kind of neat. So just some ways to work with the moon. But let's continue the lunar shenanigans. Because on the 17th of March, the moon is going to enter into Scorpio at about a little after midnight. It's going to be at 12:31 a.m., and that's Pacific time. And she's in a waning gibbous phase. And now, this would be around the time when the moon is forming it would be like a waning trine to the sun. And this is, I find, a time where okay, we're reassessing things, we're reevaluating, we're adjusting from whatever information we got during that full moon energy, And we're celebrating and showing appreciation too, I find, during this period, because you know what? You set an intention and something happened, and that things can continue to happen. I think that even if it didn't go quite as you intentioned, you at least got a result. You know what you're working with. Okay, maybe that's not the route, or maybe that's the route, but maybe the timing was off. You can get it gets you a lot of notes to play with. And that's why I think it's kind of nice to work with the moon like that. She gives you cycles and things to grow and to make mistakes and to improve. But when you think about Scorpio is the fixed water sign. They are receptive or yin in nature, and they're traditionally ruled by Mars. And there's a lot of power in Scorpio. It's different when you talk about Scorpio compared to the other water signs like Cancer and Pisces, where you can see the obvious relation with water. But Scorpions, their water is that venom that they carry with them, that concentrated energy, which emotions and that feelings can do some harm. That you have that sort of emotional trauma and things. But that same venom can be used to heal. And that's where the alchemizing potentials of Scorpios really shine. When you learn to feel through something and learn to heal through that, it empowers you and it helps. There's a deep intuition with Scorpio. They can sense when something's off and get to the root of the matter. They're not afraid with that martial energy. They'll push. And I'm just talking about Scorpio energy in general. It'll push to find out how to overcome this thing, to overcome this fear, to get over this sense of whatever is going on. So in that sense, Scorpio is a very powerful shamanic type of energy. Like I said, can sense just on another level, because it's carrying spirit and able to sense spirit in a deep, concentrated type of way. So it's very, very fascinating. But this is a tricky one for the moon, because this is where the moon experiences her fall. And when a planet is in fall, there's just a tendency for more of its lower expressions to come out. If she sort of falls into more of her, let's say, bad habits, in a sense, quote unquote, bad habits. And it's pretty, when you think about Scorpio and how they can sense so deeply, sometimes that energy is very penetrating, it's very invasive. And so the moon could be picking up on things that maybe a person's not ready to deal with yet. Maybe could be a little more pushy, a little more forceful. Or maybe even the moon can get to even like this, of course, this is just speaking in general here. The moon can feel just really self-destructive sometimes if she gets caught up in a feeling, because she's not able to move through it maybe as smoothly as if she were in Pisces or if she were in Cancer. And it's just because of that fixity part of Scorpion. Sometimes things can feel it can get so maybe obsessive with Scorpio that it could lead to the detriment. So there is understanding one's boundaries in that transformative power, and that things happen in stages. It's not meant to just be one constant, extreme thing after another, because otherwise the journey would be exhausting. And so it's making sure to allow yourself some emotional breaks, to find some things to move through that. I find when I have like maybe a lot of emotions coming up, and that's going to be something that's coming up here too, getting some emotions moving, is when I find myself maybe stuck on a particular thing and just needing the energies to move. Even just listening to some running water, I find that helps. Like a river, something about an ocean just feels, for me personally, a little too stagnant. It's like I need something like, let's get, and I got a lot of fire too. But yeah, that's just something to think about. I think with a martial ruled sign, working with like bitter things, I find it can be really great when working with Mars too. Like dark chocolate, I remember feeling some type of way once while the moon was in Scorpio, and I got this. I wanted something sweeter, but it was fine. I got this dark chocolate. It's like 100% dark chocolate. I don't know what I was thinking, but it was a lot. It was a lot. But you know what? It got me out of my feelings though. And it helped me kind of swallow that stuff down. And I was just like, okay, now that you're done with that, with this chocolate, with this mood, what are you going to do with that? So yeah, just I think with the moon is just making sure to allow yourself some time to rest with the moon in Scorpio. I think sometimes the moon can be on overdrive when she's in Scorpio here. But I think that's all I got for you for the lunar shenanigans. So let's go ahead and switch over to your general energy of the day, which is a nice one. Speaking of fire, you got the hexagram 30, which is the trigram fire over fire, which is the spark. And I just love that, just that word alone, just that there's sort of inspiration that comes through here. And the oracle for this is really neat. The translation for this one is: one light after another, succession of sovereigns, the sun and the moon coalescing. The eminent one illuminates far and wide in the four directions, lighting up all four corners of the world. The luminous fire burns twice bright in twin flames, clarity and virtue, raising heifers to be cows, an auspicious omen. And I like this, and I hope that that does give you some sort of inspiration for whatever question, whatever guidance that you may be looking up for while we're in this Scorpio moon energy. But the thing with this hexagram is that this is a locked one here, so there's no changing lines. The situation does seem pretty set and straight, and there's always like with room to kind of move around. But this can help maybe we're gonna go through all of the lines in this one as we go through the tarot cards, and to get a more specific idea of like what the situation's looking like, maybe what are some options that you can consider, because it may be a little more fixed than if it's a little more kind of locked into place there, and this may be more of a sort of internal sort of thing to reflect on. But I do find that this one is very hopeful, and in not just, how do I want to put this? It's like when you overcome a challenge, that inspires other peoples to overcome a challenge. And I think that is a great thing that Scorpio can do in helping guiding other peoples through things. There's this helping that when it talks about the sun and the moon coalescing, I think that this is, the person meeting with the sun, meeting with the area that's needed to grow, forming that connection and figuring out how am I growing through this, going through the challenges, whatever that looks like. And then as you in spirit kind of come into this sort of partnership, as you start doing this work, you start passing this work along to others and become that, you go from being the student to becoming the teacher, and always learning as a teacher, of course. But even when you think about the heifers to cows, there's one nakshatra, the lunar mansion that I'm thinking about, that it's the name, the which one it's the name's escaping me at the moment, but it speaks about that it has the power, or the power from above is cows, which cows are looked at as a very nurturing, very Venusian, even though we have all this martial energy. But the cow is looked at as a very nourishing figure, one that provides the sustenance to the calf, or the heifer in this instance. And there's a receiving thing that's coming here too, because even though there's this martial quality to Scorpio, there still are a receptive sign, and you have to feel things to grow through them. And I think that it's like as you go through this journey here, it's just going to continue nourishing yourself and the world here. There's this mutual effect. There's this like you ignite, continuing to ignite your spark, ignites the spark in others, if that makes sense. Whew. But you know what? Let's go ahead and kind of switch over here and get to the tarot. But before I get into that, just so you know, these readings that I do, they're not gender-specific readings, so apply these energies to people as they make sense for your situation. And I'm going to go ahead and ring this bell just to kind of adjust the energies, kind of switch over to the tarot. So let's go ahead and give this a ring and then get into it. All right. So we're going to get 6 cards here. And each of the cards is going to cover a certain theme. And I'm going to get a clarifier. When we have a lock hexagram, you mainly go to look at line 5. So we'll get a clarifier for line 5, or the card 5. And I'll get one for 6 as well, because that'll get some more kind of spiritual advice there. One for you and one from Spirit. So, but the first card is going to deal with any sort of short-term money matters or things along those lines. And keep in mind, this isn't financial advice. But let's go ahead and get into this thing. Ooh, interesting. And I'm with that. You got the Judgment card here. And this could be where maybe you're having an epiphany as far as like how you've been spending your money. Maybe the spark maybe you watch something like a video and they give you some sort of financial tip, some sort of advice, and you go to implement this thing. You're noticing this stuff, you're telling your friends about it, you're spreading this energy far and wide to the four corners, lighting everything up. You know what I mean? There's this friendly fire that I think is spreading here. And maybe, yeah, just like I think even seeing how maybe you can repurpose your money possibly here, getting some sort of resources working for you, maybe getting some sort of like a side hustle here possibly. Maybe there's a realization that just like that, and this could be like, in, you know what, the Judgment card, wow. Actually, speaking of fire, the Judgment card is related to elemental fire. And so there's this, I think there's even like an idea here. You know, there's something maybe has to deal with, you know, some sort of creative, this owl has a trumpet here, so maybe you're playing the trumpet, maybe you're igniting the creative sparks in others. But it's like, I think there's something here too, it's like you don't realize what a change that can bring as well. And maybe even realize that you're better at something than you thought. You know, like these chicks are gathered here for this revelation. So I think even there's this thing about, yeah, delivering some sort of guidance here. And you know, the first line for this one, just kind of getting into the hexagram. The first line is, footprints show a trail faltering between right and wrong, a confused path. Honor with offerings, there will be no blame. And this seems to give me like a sort of like a back and forth sort of thing. Like, you know, we've been maybe, again, considering something, but, you know, like I've just kind of almost like been doing it like a Cancer dance. Like, this feels like, but let me step back and waffling. And this is a time where it's like, you know what? Follow the light in others. You know, start that new seed, that sun, moon. You know, this could be a time where maybe not right now, but soon. You know, I think as we get towards the new moon, where and getting ready to start into some Aries energy, when we get into some more fire, because we're about to move into a lot of fire, especially towards the end of the month here, when we got Neptune moving in there, Saturn moving in there. So we got a lot of stuff cooking. So yeah, if you got any ideas or anything, definitely get on that. But let's go ahead and get into the next energy, which is medical matters. And this is not medical advice or anything like that. So, ooh, but you got the 10 of Cups here. And you know, for medical matters, this could just be, I think, even just an appreciation for life. Just like, you know, getting the sense of like, you know, I got this, I got my family, whatever family looks like for you. You know, those people that can get you there through those maybe even confusing times. That could even be something too, maybe if you're going through some sort of thing, calling on those people, being in that sort of loving energy, kind of lean on them for something. Maybe you've been trying to be this sort of rock, this pillar, this thing, and you know, maybe there's something going on with the fire, with the fuel there, but you know, it's curious for this one. The second line for this talks about a curious imperial creature, sublime good fortune. And I really think that there's people who are maybe even curious about you. This again can maybe be friends, be family who want to get to know more about. They're just wanting to develop maybe more of an intimacy. I'm even thinking when we got this Scorpio energy. That's a very Scorpionic thing to do, to want to develop this sense of trust, to kind of jump into the unknown here. There's sort of this like, what's next? Now that I've got to know this side of you, like what maybe something's evolving here. Like. And this may be too, maybe we're talking about, and this is, I think, is very appropriate. We're thinking about like maybe sort of like Scorpionic things. Maybe there's that feeling of, how long is this going to last? My maybe not going to be young forever or something like that. And this could be where we're having those sort of discussions, not in a morbid way, but more so in a way of how can we keep this light, this sparks to come for our families and their families and our families' family, that sort of thing. It's a little bit of Ten of Pentacles kind of vibe, but more so just right now it's at like the feeling stage of it. Maybe some sort of situation, maybe you had a friend, someone passed, or maybe someone you knew, they had a family member pass, and it's just questions of maybe mortality, maybe kind of coming up there, but could be, again, auspicious time to move something along here. But let's get into your next card, which deals with legal matters or social affairs. And this isn't legal wise or anything like that. Talk with your lawyers. Oh, especially about this. So you have the Nine of Swords here. And then maybe with some legal matters, maybe there is some anxieties. Maybe we have maybe there's a court case that you're dealing with right now that's just become this real nightmare, this sort of back and forth. Maybe things have gotten a little out of hand. Some words have been said, some aggression, some really, just some weird choices that have been going on there. I'm partly getting with some of this energy that comes up here that there could be a way of finding a way to end this sort of Nine of Swords energy where you're feeling trapped and that this is all that is on your mind. This epiphany that, what, I'm not quite seeking some sort of counsel. Maybe there's something that's been missed here, but there may even be an anxiety here about maybe just there's some social, when we talk about social affairs, maybe there's something that's coming to an end and maybe you're needing to interact with a different group. Possibly, maybe there's been some social anxiety here. Maybe there's been just I'm just getting maybe an upheaval maybe in the social sphere, and it's just how do you move on from that? Which is, I think this is interesting. You kind of tie with this third line here. It says, in the last light of a setting sun, beat the pot like a drum, sing the songs of lament, expressing the advancing age. And the number 2, and this is still the same line, and it says, as the final light of the sun clings to the western sky, if you do not drum and sing, the great elders will lament. A waning period. And we're in a waning period, literally. And this, to me, is one, when it says in the last slide, beating the drum, it's honoring the times that have passed. The sun, where it always rises all the time, it also sets. And maybe there is this change of groups. Maybe there's been a change in, maybe there's been some sort of shift. Maybe there's been a change in the judge over your case, or maybe there's a change in lawyers, or whatever this might be going on. Maybe there's been a change in some sort of contract. You're not quite sure where things are going there. I think that it's, just being anxious about things that are out of your control is just going to just keep you it's just going to keep you anxious. So I think that there's a need to honor the past and just greet this thing kind of each day at a time. Come in with, no matter what happens, I got this. I'm resourceful, and I'm going to figure this thing out. And understanding too, where we're speaking of when it's the sun setting, and if you don't do the drumming or the singing, it's if we try to cling on to something that's clearly come to an end, it just leads to this sort of awkward finish. I'm not quite sure that there's something else in there about maybe like a codependency maybe or something with the group, like a certain like a yeah. I think I'm gonna pull out of that, but just something to think about there. But let's get into the fourth energy here, which speaks about any sort of romantic matters or marriage. So you have the Wheel of Fortune here, Jupiter energy, and I think that something is changing, and maybe even changing fast. And I say that just because with the fourth line here, it talks about a sudden and swift bursting forth unexpectedly, as it burns, as it dies, forsaken and left behind. And there's something here about like a new cycle that's happening where something is being purified. We're realizing that we can't take this, whatever this is, this relationship going forward. I find that in that letting go, maybe there's this anxiety around like, oh my gosh, things won't ever be the same. But yeah, of course, it's not going to be the same, but it could be better, if you allow it to be. But I think that if we're bringing us along these Nine of Swords, along this fears and anxiety, something that just keeps you kind of just locked down there, then we're just going to stay stuck at the bottom of the wheel, and nothing's going to turn here. So this could be just like an energy of maybe needing to get yourself out there, and not just in just like a romantic or marriage sense, but just like maybe even just like a socializing sort of way there possibly, or maybe even allow yourself to take yourself out if it's just whatever this may be looking like for you here. And I'm even getting this could be, because I'm kind of looking at this, there is a lot of Mars energy here, minus Jupiter. I'm talking more so like your Ten of Cups and your Nine of Swords. That's Ten of Cups is Mars and Pisces. The Nine of Swords is Mars and Gemini, both mutable signs. It's like a new side of you is emerging here. And it's going to attract different people. You're becoming like a beacon in some sort of way here. The tides are, something's turning, and something's changing. Let's get into the fifth line, which this one's interesting. The fifth card, or the fifth topic that I'm going to pull forward, the theme is immediately pressing affairs. So anything that is just like that you're dealing with presently, or that would maybe like require your immediate kind of attention here. And that's interesting. So you got the Chariot here, Cancer energy. And whatever this you come to this reading for, I think that there is this thing of knowing that things are going to move forward. Maybe it might feel stuck right now, might be feeling a little, might be feeling a lot. The epiphany may have been had, this realization, but that doesn't always mean that an epiphany means enlightenment. Sometimes it can mean just a lot of emotions that may come up there, a lot of fears, a lot of anxieties as far as like, how am I going to tread this path there? Feeling like there's no sort of reins on this chariot, that is just these cats, or just kind of, you're at the mercy of spirit, maybe even in this sort of like, or just like kind of in the divine hands right now, and this could feel maybe uncomfortable, or maybe just like, I say this just because the fifth line for this hexagram is tearing, wailing such, tears stream like rivers, sorrow and grief, alas, take a breath, exhale, all will end favorably. And so if this is, maybe some sort of emotional, a lot of turmoil that's maybe coming up here, that Scorpio energy is maybe needing to letting this energy move, letting that come out. Maybe having a good cry, taking some time to, if you need just like a minute, maybe 5, to move through this thing, just so that you can, okay, that's been purged. Okay, what am I doing? Where is this going? How do I regroup? Like that. But sometimes you need that release. And thinking that this is Cancer, Cancer is that cardinal water sign, the initiator of emotions here. So especially if something's been trapped for a while with Scorpio, it's time to turn that into let it stop being a poison and letting it become a medicine. All right, let's get to the. Oh wait, I'm gonna get a clarifier on this one. To see what we're. Let's get a clarifier on this Chariot. Interesting. So you have the Five of Discs upright, or Five of Discs, Five of Pentacles, and this could be where we're in a state of worry, where we're in a maybe not necessarily in the lowest yet, but we fear the lowest. That's where maybe we're headed. Or maybe you're watching someone or feel like someone's heading some sort of way here. And you've had this epiphany. You don't want them to maybe go through the struggle, but sometimes people have to go through what they need to go through. That might be something that you can only inspire so many people. We can't walk that path for them. We can just provide any sort of assistance that we can along the way, and just be that light that's on in their personal maybe snowstorm in winter here, possibly. That's something I think that this hexagram is really trying to point out too, that we all go through these different phases of life where we have these really challenging times, these like, what do I do next, or what are people going to think about this thing, what do I think about this thing, and like really just like, is this, the time's not the movie, just all the pressures that maybe life can bring. But I think if we spend all the time worrying, then we're not going to move. I was listening to someone and they said that if you listen to astrology that you would never move. And I actually think the opposite. If anything, astrology gets me moving too much. I feel like I'm always moving. and I think that it just depends on how you work with these energies here. I think this isn't the time to try to do like all of the things sort of meh. I think it's like taking sections and doing them very well. And I think that's where kind of like astrology, tarot, and things can put it in a nice, neat little category there, get you to focus and kind of help you move in this stuff for just a day at a time. But just something to think about there. Now let's get to your last card here, which deals with any sort of like the destiny or the karma, the consequences of actions here. Knight of Pentacles, I'm with it. I think this thing is just kind of like taking it slow right now, getting a game plan, getting grounded, and figuring out where to go from there. Again, one day at a time, being patient with oneself or being patient with another person. And things will get solved in the end. Because I like this last line. This kind of harkens back to your previous one from the Libra cycle, where it says, the king levies his armies forward for the attack, and the chieftains of the opposition are struck down. Take the rebels as prisoners, there is no blame. Because I mentioned that last one because it spoke of an opposition. And I was talking a lot about personal oppositions in that last one. And I think that there's this thing where when the time comes, you're going to be ready to face any oppositions that come your way, whether this be outside of yourself or internal, And I think it's just like right now, you've seen what the opposition looks like, and there's going to be a time. And when it talks about taking the rebels as prisoners, it's not letting these situations, these things become this sort of where you need to make an example of them, where we're taking them as how do I want to put that? We're letting these sort of like challenges in life, I think, become not this thing that keeps us in prison or keeps us prisoner, but as something as that we can release ourselves from these prisons in a sense. And that they're not something to, the situations aren't something to blame. It wasn't that, like, it was like all of it was part of it meant to be part of the experience, if that makes sense. Even when we go through those, maybe, because it all happens, like in the life, waxes and wanes here. But let's get a clarifier on this Knight of Pentacles. Nice. So you got the Four of Wands here. And this to me is things, again, coming to completion. This is you beating the opposition. And we're celebrating this thing. And that's interesting. I even got this message where it talks about take the rebels as prisoners. Again, take those, maybe those challenging experiences, and like we put them in a way where they're not, we can eventually turn them into allies, in a sense, where it's just like, okay, when this certain aspect comes up in me, that's because this is going on, so I need to do X. Like if I'm noticing this anxiety here from a certain relationship, that's because maybe my boundaries are being crossed, or I'm not communicating something, or maybe whatever that might be. I'm just throwing out just a generic example. But this to me is, some sort of success here. Again, it may be playing a long game here, but I think that it is something that will be an inspiration for other people as well when they're moving through these sort of cycles here and realizing that something is needing to change. All right, but let's get some advice from Mars. Oh. All right, so you have the Four of Pentacles here, and let's go ahead and switch over. Because when we're thinking about the Four of Pentacles, one thing I'm getting is almost like a fear of, it's like almost a fear of one, instead of putting someone's self out there as a means to avoid of getting hurt, they're clinging to some sort of thing outside of ourselves, whether that be some sort of like substance, or some sort of like, maybe it can be some sort of shopping addiction or something like that, maybe just hoarding, some things, like needing stuff to feel grounded as opposed to just feeling just at ease with oneself, is what I'm kind of getting with this Four of Pentacles here. And that's even interesting. I'm almost getting this energy too of maybe having saved up all these things, like accumulated all this stuff, but now having nothing to share it with. It's kind of become, I'm not sure. Like there's something about needing to do something with the things that you have here. I'm not like, Yeah, that's all I'm getting from that. Just a little something to think about there. But if you like that, if anything resonated with you, give it a thumbs up. And share this thing. If you know somebody who can get some nuggets of wisdom from this, And to subscribe there, you Wheel of Fortune. Hit that bell button to get notified on all these videos each day. And I'm going to shuffle for your surprise card or cards here. But if you want to know what's going on with the other celestial bodies, maybe we'll see what Mars is doing. Then down in the description box, there's a link for my other channel, Alchemist 8, where I do weekly videos. There's Celestial News Weekly, and it's just talking about the different transits and how to work with the energies. And I also do these videos talking about different planets in different signs in different houses. So little series that I've been doing. So if you like that, definitely check that out. It's all done by, I got them all nice and organized in a playlist for you. It's really cool. But let's go ahead and get into your surprise card here, which I'm with. Got the good fortune card here. And you know what? I'm kind of getting now with a little bit more of this Four of Pentacles. I think that it's needing to store up more of the victories. You know, kind of making more deposits into that bank. Now, I think that there's maybe been a lot that's been fueled into that, maybe, again, that Nine of Swords energy, wherever that anxiety that has been going on. Even that sort of Five of Pentacles energy, maybe feeling like we're going in a wrong direction or something like that. It's, you know, just investing in the energies differently, not letting the matters of the material weigh down your spark. You know, that maybe there may be some tricky, you know, some you know, trying to figure out how to work with these things, being adaptable in these times here, and maybe it's trying to even figure out, we're not sure how long the fortune's gonna last, so it's like you cling to it as long as you can, but it ends up becoming more of a weight. So that's even something I think to consider there. I'm not like, that's an interesting energy I think that's trying to come through, and it's I do think overall, though, that there is, too, a good fortune that can be spread, and this is the wealth of experience that you get, that we all get with this journey, and how it looks very differently on everyone, and how even those trials and tribulations, you know, the gold that you got from that. And maybe even that Four of Pentacles, there's a tapping into, that's an interesting, there we go. Even like maybe like a tapping into one's reserves in one thing. There's a deeper, your bank goes a lot deeper than you realize. The resources that maybe you can even call upon possibly here, the things that you have experienced. So that's something, there we go, that's something to even think about. All right, but I think I'm going to leave that there. A little something to ponder. But until next time, stay mindful out there. Keep eyes on that moon. And I will catch you on the next one. Mercury Day.